Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Diesel Driven channel. It is May 10th. That means we are right around the corner from the NBA draft, and there are a lot of decisions to be made for young basketball players here in the U.S. So, 73 NCAA players entered the early entrance part of the NBA draft. They put their name in as eligible, and if they withdraw by May 22nd, they can come back to college next year and retain their eligibility. If they stay in the draft process past May 22nd, they are stuck in there. They cannot come back to college this year. So we're going to go through all 73 of those guys and kind of guesstimate their likelihood of going to the NBA or staying in college. And that'll kind of break down to a money argument. We don't like to make this conversation today, but it is. These guys are making the determination, am I going to make more money in my career staying in college this year or going to the pros now? Because a lot of these guys could do both. But here's what it is. And look at these NCAA numbers on the left. This is for this coming year. These numbers are not set in stone. There's no formal public contracts. These are our best guesstimations on what these contracts are. So take it with a grain of salt, but these are pretty accurate based on what we hear. All Americans, the best guys in the country, they're getting about $3 million a year this year. 1-year contracts, keep in mind, only this year guaranteed, but they're getting some serious cash. If you look over and compare it to the other side, that's more than the 30th pick is getting this year. So that's why a guy like PJ Haggerty, and who'll come up later, is asking for $4 million a year. You look over there, that's a pretty good NBA salary. So these guys in college, they are making real money, but that's only for the top of the top. Not everyone's getting that. For Power 5 starters, your good starters, probably about $2 million. Your meh starters, probably about $1 million or something. But more or less, if you start in the Power 5 and you're a contributor, you're making 7 figures this year in college. That much pretty much set. Power 5 bench kind of depends on the program here. Your big ones like your Kentucky, your Arkansas, your Dukes, your UNCs, they got huge budgets. Maybe they're 6th, 7th, 8th guys making $1 million this year. Some serious money there. You go to some smaller schools or with some smaller profiles, and I don't even know too much about it, but Wisconsin. I'm a Wisconsin guy. We have a smaller budget. Our 8th guy, he's probably making $400,000 to $600,000, and somewhere in like that. Schools might try to beef up their starting lineups, pay 5 guys $2 million for their $10 million budget. Some teams might try to spread it out more. So this will kind of depend on the program and what they want to do. But the Power 5 depth or the mid-major elite guys, they're probably $250,000 to $500,000 guys. Kind of depends on the individual programs and the individual guys, how long they've been there, that kind of stuff. This is really going to depend, each guy himself. But at the tippity top, the couple millions, that part is pretty much set. Now let's take a look at the NBA side to see what we're comparing things to. So the first pick in the draft, Cooper Flagg, we can just say that. It's going to be Cooper Flagg. He's getting a 2-year, $28 million guaranteed contract. And for these first-round contracts in the NBA, they're all 2 years guaranteed with a 2-year player option on the back end. And I would say probably about 85% of guys get their 3rd and 4th years picked up. So we could have included here, but I don't want to because this is just baseline what you are going to get no matter what when you sign that contract. So the 10th pick, 2 for 12 or 4 for about 25. 20 is 2 for 7.5 or 4 for 15. And 30th pick, the last one in the first round. And some guys would argue this is the worst pick to have. You get 2 for 5.5 or 4 for 11. But the 31st pick is different because in the second round, there's no set contracts in the NBA. So it's just up to the teams themselves what exceptions they have, what room they have under the cap to kind of make their own deals. So this really depends on each team. So the 31st pick, this year, these numbers were just from last year because I thought it was the best comp. He got 4 years for about $9 million guaranteed. Or $9 million, about $7 million guaranteed. If the team picking here really loved this guy, they could sign him to a 4-year, $30 million contract, if they really wanted to, and the option was there. But for the most part, it's going to fall in this general range. So for these guys that are mocked in the upper second round, you'll probably see them sign 4 for, it'll probably be a 3-year for $5 million contract guaranteed, 4 years for $8 million total possible. So a decent amount of money. But year over year, definitely less than they would get if they were the All-American breakdown. So that's kind of this, the money here. Keep this in mind as we go through the next slides, and always pop back to this one if you want. Remember, this is kind of what they're jostling right now as they go through the draft process. I'm gone, but these 15 players are here. We have the first round locks, as I want to call them. All 15 of these guys are mocked in the first round. Some of them, like Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Edgecombe Jr., Ace Bailey, they're going to be top 5 picks guaranteed. And some of these other guys like Murray Boyles, Newell, Jace Richardson, they're going to be in the lower half of the lottery, but all of these guys should be gone by about pick 20. So if we remember back to the last slide, they're going to be getting more than they could make in college right away, more guaranteed years, and the most important thing is getting towards that second NBA contract, because that's the ones where you can get 4 years for, I believe it's $130 million now. So crazy amount of money. And if you have any opportunity to get to that second NBA contract, which all of these guys do, generally you want your top half for the first round picks, they do get some kind of second contract. So these guys get that clock ticking as quickly as you can. A lot of freshmen on the board here. They're really good freshmen that are going to get picked, so they're going to go. It makes sense. I'll do an NBA mock draft video later, but these are names that you'll recognize. Cooper Flagg, he had an outstanding year. Colin Murray Boyles is a guy that a lot of people don't know about, but USC, he dominated. A little undersized, but I think he's going to do well. And then you've got some real potential guys like Asa Newell, Jace Richardson, Trey Johnson, Knipple, I believe, Kaman Maluk. I'm sorry if I butcher these names, but they're either really toolsy guys that you can't find anywhere else, or they've got a certain set of skills that's already NBA level. So I think a lot of these guys, they should make up most of the lottery. So this is a no questions. They are gone. Thanks for playing in college basketball. These are very, very good players, but they will not be coming back. Next tier of guys I have here is what I call first round hopefuls. And these guys, a lot of them are mocked to go in the first round. Guys like Carter Bryant, Yaxel Lendeborg, Danny Wolf, Will Riley, they're all mocked to go in the first round, but in the back half of the first round. If any of them slip the second round, it would be a little bit of a surprise, but it wouldn't be a shock. So these guys could get out of that guaranteed contract range, and a couple of these guys are going to be second round picks. So it's a little bit of a decision for them, because if we remember back, that 30th pick is getting 2 for 5.5, or 4 for about 12. So that's some good money, and especially for these guys that may only get like $2 million back in college. So I think most of these guys are going to leave. The money is pretty substantial and it's good. And at worst case scenario, these guys are the top 10 picks of the second round, which again is a really advantageous place to be selected, because you can kind of make your own contract a little bit and no doubt get secured more money into the future. So I think all of these guys are pretty safe bets to leave, except for Yaxel Lendeborg. And he's going to Michigan. That's what I mean when these guys' schools are in green. That means they're going to that school. They've already committed in the portal. And when their school is red, that means they're still in the portal. So Lendeborg, I'm sorry if I butcher his name, but he's going to Michigan and has signed a big contract to be there. But his stock is rising in the draft, and he was one of the guys mocked 22, 26, 27. He's probably going to be a first round pick and get that guaranteed contract. So he's going to be the first one I'm watching for as a decision guy. Does he stay in? Because he's a really high profile transfer. And if he leaves, that kind of starts the waterfall. Like, oh, these guys that commit in the portal, they aren't set here. They could leave for the NBA. So be careful if you're banking on them hard. I have no idea if he's going to stay or not, but he's the highest mock guy that is committed to a new school in the portal. So he's going to be the bellwether. And if it's not him, probably no one. So I'm looking for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the NBA. If he's got a team at 28 says they're going to take him, I'd go and fulfill a dream and get that contract. So he's a really important guy I'll be looking for. Okay, I'm back, and we're on to 5 important guys here. I think these are 5 big names to watch about coming back or not, because these guys probably will get drafted. They're all mocked in the upper half of the second round. Not too many get in the first round grade. Cedric Coward maybe here and there gets a look in the first round. But for the most part, these guys are going to be in that meat of the second round. So no standardization on the contracts, probably looking at 4 for 6, something along those lines. So not crazy good numbers. And a lot of these guys are going to be important players. You can see Coward, he's going to Duke. So I think that makes it really unlikely that he leaves. I think he comes back just because he's a prospect, but he's really counted on at Duke, and I know they're paying him well. Duke's got deep pockets. And another one, Boogie Fland, he's still in the portal. So I could see him coming back to college and kind of starting a bidding war, because there's a lot of teams with some money now, but there's not too many guys left in the transfer portal. Our top 75 left in the transfer portal is pretty picked over by now. So I could see him coming back and kind of starting a bidding war for schools that have money to burn. I could see him getting $3 million, which is more than you could do here. He's just a freshman, so I think coming back and being a contributor on a big team could help his draft stock. So I'd be surprised if he came back to the draft here. He's going to come back to college, I think. And I think Coward as well. Miles Bird, I think he leaves and goes to the NBA. He's pretty well mocked in the 30s. He's an experienced player, and he's not in the portal, so there's no money for him. So I think if an NBA team comes knocking, he'll go. Same thing with Proctor and Thero. They're upperclassmen. They've done their jobs. They've made their money in college at Duke and Arkansas. They were paid already. So if they get mocked to like the mid 40s, I think they could go. But honestly, any of these five guys, one way or the other, I wouldn't be super shocked, but I expect the two guys in the portal to come back. Okay, now on to our last group of guys here that are sometimes mocked, sometimes not. These guys are mocked 45 or lower, 50s sometimes, and then other times not at all. So it's kind of a take it or leave it who you think's going to be there for a certain team. But for these guys, and you can see four of them in white this time, they're the ones actively in the portal. You remember PJ Haggerty, RJ Lewis, they've been featured in some Diesel videos before. They are two very experienced, very good players that will command a pretty penny back in college basketball. I think they might set the table. Three and a half, maybe if a team's got a lot of money left to go, or maybe only 2.5 of those teams don't have those kind of monies. Same thing for Watkins and Williams. They're two experienced players that are going to be highly sought if they come back. And like I said before, there's not that many difference makers left in the portal. Of course, there's going to be some guys still there that pop out of nowhere. But if you're talking about experienced, high level college basketball players that can come in and play now, no questions asked, these four and the other ones mentioned, they're probably as good as it can get, as you're going to get. So I would expect them to come back, start a bidding war, get some money in their pockets. And, worst case scenario, I don't think they're going to get drafted super high. Maybe they come back and put up a good year and they get drafted next year. The other ones, Isaiah Evans, Carter Knox, Owe, and Powell, I think they all come back as well. I think they should. They didn't go into the portal. They're just testing the waters. Evans is mocked a little bit higher than these guys. He usually gets picked up in the 40s in these. So if he has a team that loves him, I could see him staying in the draft. But Knox is young. Owe is a very important piece for going to be a very good Kentucky team next year. So I think he's going to raise his stock. And same thing with Drake Powell. I think they stay. If they want to realize that NBA dream though and go to the draft, I could see it, but I mean I believe all eight should come back. And honestly, for the sake of college basketball next year, I think these guys would play much more meaningful minutes in college and do that, make some money. So I think they should all come back and hope they do. Here we have the remaining players that declared for the NBA draft. And the key thing here that I decided to not include them on the other ones was an invitation to the NBA Combine. The NBA Combine invited the top 75 players, I believe. So if you're not invited to that, it's already pretty slim that you're not going to get drafted. And only three of these guys, Nate Biddle, Yannick Konan Niederhauser, and one other I'm forgetting, even got invited to the G League Elite Camp, which is like the secondary backup one if you didn't make it to the Combine. So these guys effectively weren't in the top 100 draft picks. So I would be shocked and floored if any of them actually stayed in the draft because I don't think they're going to get drafted, respectfully. Biddle and Niederhauser and a couple of these big guys, they're 7 feet tall, so maybe a team takes a stab on them, but I think they have eligibility to come back. They should come back and play well in college and do their thing. So you can see all these guys with the green schools. Those are the guys that have committed to new ones in the portal. So extremely unlikely that they stay in the draft. They're probably just testing the waters. But honestly, I think most of these other guys too are just committed to the current school they're at. So I don't see them leaving either. I don't think any of these guys should leave. A lot of them are going to be big, big names next year. I think we're looking at a lot of All-Americans here, or at least all-conference players, guys that came on strong, and then you can see a couple transfers here to Vanderbilt, a couple to St. John's, DePaul, Indiana, Kansas. We're going to be hearing these guys next year. Oregon's featured a few times on here. So I think these guys should, for monetary reasons, come back because these guys are, by and large, all starters, if not upper level starters. I would say 1.5 million, at least 1 million, probably 2 million type guys on here. Much more than they're going to get in college, or much more than they're going to get in the NBA. They have eligibility left in college. It's fun to be in college. They can work on their game, stay in the process. But I would expect all of these guys by the 22nd to withdraw their names and come back to the good old NCAA for one more year. Why not? This is all I have for today, guys. Thanks for coming out and looking at these. We'll make a follow-up video after the announcement date to see if I got all these names right. But we can look back at this and laugh in a year when I say, oh, look, Diesel made these funny calls. But I think this is the right one. Some of these guys are going to be gone. Some of these guys are going to stay. And these guys in the middle are going to be really interesting to see because I think they still have a chance to shape what college basketball is going to be next year. So that's all I have. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. It really helps, all that good stuff. If you're still here I really appreciate you guys sticking to the end, and I'll see you on a Saturday. Thanks.